Do you find that, when you're singing with a karaoke, so you're on YouTube, you're finding that karaoke of that song you love and you're singing and the music starts playing, right? And the lyrics come along and you're like, where do I start? Where do I even start with this? I have zero idea what I need to start, what's the note, what's the timing? And you start overthinking. If that's you, in today's episode, we're going to be tackling that. And I'm going to be sharing 2 ideas on how to get more comfortable singing without the background vocals or being able to sing with a karaoke, just the instrumental version. And I'll even give you guys a bonus tool on how you can make this process so much easier for you today. So make sure to stay to the end. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Singing Simply Show. My name is Ivan, and on this show, we just aim to demystify singing for you. Make singing as easy and as simple as possible. Because let's face it, learning to sing can be confusing, especially when you're trying to do things on your own end. And so if you're a new listener, welcome. If you are a return visitor, welcome back. So let's jump into the question for today. And this was actually a question that came from a listener of mine on, I think it's Spotify. And it's from a listener called Grace Rose. So Grace Rose, if you are listening to this podcast, thank you for this question. And for anyone who wants to inspire the next episode with a question, if you're on Spotify, right below there is a question. Like, what topic would you like to hear for the next episode? Or you can connect with me on Instagram. I've dropped all the links into the show notes. You can just drop your question to me on Instagram, and I'm more than happy to create an episode to answer those for you. So once again, Grace Rose, thank you so much for this question. And so let's dive straight into it. How do we start to get more comfortable singing without the background vocals, and maybe even start approaching singing with just the instrumental versions? Now, you might even be wondering, why is this important? Why is this important? The reason why this is important is, especially when you're creating covers, you want to be able to sing without the original vocals, be able to sing with the karaoke. Now, or maybe you're at a karaoke bar, at a karaoke session, you're singing with your friends. It's going to sound much better when you can stay on key, stay in time. And so let's dive straight into 2 very simple ideas that can help you with this. So tip number one, and this is for those of you who have trouble with hearing the pitch. Maybe you're singing with a karaoke and the music is playing. You're not even sure where to start. Here is a little idea called anchor notes, right? And I might have introduced this in a previous episode before, but I'd like to bring it back in today, right? Anchor notes. What are anchor notes? Now, all anchor notes is you want to be choosing specific notes in a song. Maybe it's the first note of the song. Maybe it's the first note of a chorus. Maybe it's like a little tricky note that you find really challenging to sing, and you want to figure out what that note is on the piano. If you guys want to see a full tutorial on this, let me know on Instagram. But the idea is you choose a note from a song and you learn it on an instrument. Figure out what the note is. Is the first note that word U? Is it a B3? Is it a G4? Is it an A4? What is it? Because the reason why we want to do this is you want to train your ear to start hearing that pitch. And for those of you who don't play the piano or you haven't had experience learning things by ear, that's totally cool. You don't need to be like super fancy. All you need to do is get good at guessing, which is you play the song. You might have to slow it down. That note you're trying to figure out, slow it down there a bunch, and just gonna play random notes, right? And see if there's any that click in with the vocals. Any of them that sound like they're the same. Because when you can figure out that anchor note, if you can figure out what that anchor note is, then the beauty of it is then you can start matching it. You can start to match that note. And why is this important? When you go into the karaoke, when you're removing the vocals, when you just sing with a karaoke, now you've got a reference point. You've got a place where you can get started with. And this is actually something I share with my summer clients. And a lot of them have seen so much results, allowing them to sing on key, right, for the first time, because now they've got an anchor note. They've got a reference. They've got somewhere they can start, because that's often where the trickiest part is. And so a little way you can apply this, right, is just grab a piano and get in guessing. Choose a really easy song. Choose something that's probably a bit slower and see if you can figure out what some of the anchor notes are. My suggestion is figuring out what that first note is. That's usually the most important one. And so that's tip number one, finding anchor notes. Now, the second tip, and this is more of like a general overarching principle, but this is so important, especially when you're getting started with singing with karaoke's, or frankly, this is a technique to help you improve your singing in general, make it sound even better. And the idea here is, especially when you're singing with a karaoke, you want to reduce the amount of information that your brain has to process. Because, a lot of times when people are singing karaoke's, it's not that they don't have good pitch. Maybe that's one element of it, but a big reason why they struggle with singing on key, or they struggle with singing on time, or finding where to start, is there's too much information for your brain to process. Way too much information. And so we have to start to reduce the amount of information your brain has to process. Now, what does this actually mean? How does this actually tangibly work, right? There's a few ways you can do it. Number one is just being prepared. Start singing the song with the original artist. Get familiar with the melody. Get familiar with the lyrics. Get familiar with all of those so you don't have to think about it so much. Because imagine having to think about the lyrics and then also have to sing that first note correctly, right? That can be tricky for some of us. And so you want to reduce the amount of information your brain has to process by preparation. Now, the other idea is you can also simplify the song, dumb down the song, maybe dumb down the karaoke, right? How you can do this is you can maybe slow things down so your brain has time to process. Or, now this is a little favorite one of mine, is swap out the words for a sound. Right? Instead of singing, fly me to the moon, instead of having to memorize all of these things, get the words as well, you can even just hum. Get those sounds going first. See if you can figure out the notes with your hum. See if you can get your voice to fit in with the karaoke with a simple sound, because that's going to reduce the load on your brain. You don't have to be thinking about things so much. So these are some ideas on reducing the amount of information. And so this is idea number two, which is when you reduce the amount of information, it makes it easier for your brain. It makes it really, really easy for your brain to pick up the right pitch and to be able to sing comfortably without the background vocals. So those are the first two tips, making sure you can figure out the anchor notes and then reducing the amount of information your brain has to process. Now, I promise you all, bonus number three, bonus tool or bonus tip number three. And this is actually a tool that we recently came across together as a team in Summit. And this is one of the things I love when you have a community of people learning to sing. Sometimes you share some amazing tools that can really make the process easier. And so I'm going to drop a link into the show notes as well. But basically, check out this tool. This is such a great way to get comfortable singing without the background vocals and singing with a karaoke. And what this is a tool called vocalremover.org. Well, that's a website, right? But it's called Vocal Remover. Now, what this tool actually is a great way to split the vocals. Like, say you've got a song, you can split the vocals and the background, right? The background instruments. So you can create like a karaoke. So this is a great way to create a karaoke, first of all, but you can split the vocals and the karaoke. But what we've discovered as a team in Summit is you can also use this as a great tool for learning how to sing with karaoke tracks, or being able to sing without the background vocals. And once again, if you guys want me to run a full tutorial on this, let me know. Happy to do it. The way you can do this is once you found a way to get an MP3 version of this, for obviously non-commercial kind of reasons, and you're just doing it for your own educational sake. Once you can get an MP3, you upload it into this tool. And what it does is it creates two tracks, a vocal only track and a music or background music only track. Right. And next to it, you've got these beautiful sliders, these things where you can adjust the volume of the background track or the vocal track individually. And here is the magic. If you want to get comfortable with singing without background vocals, here is a little workflow you can follow. So you want to be sing with the original artist, sing with the original vocals. So you have them both at full volume. What you can do to get yourself comfortable singing without the background vocals is you now have the option to gradually fade out the vocals. So maybe you're singing with the background music at 100%, and then you'll bring the vocals down to maybe 50%, right? So only 50% of that is coming through, and then you try singing with it. And then you bring it down even more to 20% until you eventually get rid of the vocals. And what this can act as is a bit of a cushion, right? A bit of a training wheel to help you start singing without the original vocals. And I found this to be so helpful, especially when you're learning a new song. Right? Now, underlying this actually is some of the ideas we've talked about here, reducing the amount of information your brain has to process. Basically, we're going to start off with the place where your brain doesn't have to think about anything at all. You just got to copy the original singer. But as you gradually fade out the vocals, your brain starts to pick things up pretty quick. And so this is a really, really cool tool. And, best way to do it is just explore it. Vocalremover.org. Explore this and have fun with this and see what you can make of it. But it's such a great tool to get you comfortable with singing just with a karaoke. So team, that is the 2 ideas plus the bonus tool. Number 1, figure out what the anchor notes are. Number 2, reduce the amount of information your brain has to process so you have an easier time getting to the things that actually matter. And number 3, I've shared a little bonus tool called vocalremover.org. This is such a great tool to actually implement this and get good with that. Now, one of the things I would encourage you is action one of these. I've shared these ideas because I want you to go and execute one of them, because we all know when you actually take action and you do the work, you are actually going to get the results that you want. And so maybe it's checking out Vocal Remover, maybe it's figuring out an anchor note, or maybe when you're practicing that next song, find a way to make it simpler, reduce the amount of information. Maybe swapping out the words for a single sound. So you don't have to be thinking about the words, right? Whatever it might be, I want you to choose just one and go and action this. If you guys want a bit of accountability, send it to me on Instagram. Drop your evidence to me on Instagram. So you can send me a DM, you can take a photo of your evidence, you can send me a little clip, whatever works for you. Connect with me on Instagram. And if you've got any questions or you want to inspire the next episode, please use that as well. Instagram is such a great place to connect. So apart from that, quick episode today, and I will see you all for our next episode. Remember, you're not your limitations. Take care.